This is an explanation of your slope story project. This is a creative project that also involves a lot of math. So you're given this graph with a bunch of connected slopes on it. The plot of this assignment is that this graph is representing a hot tub. The hot tub is being filled from point A to point B, or line segment AB, and then the other bit of information you get is that the hot tub is being emptied from point K to point L, or line segment KL. You are going to write some kind of story or do some kind of creative project that explains what is going on during the time that all of those other segments are taking place. If you're feeling very creative, this is a creative assignment. If you're feeling very creative, it doesn't have to be a hot tub that you're just describing. It can be any other kind of container that holds water or another liquid, or it can hold people, creatures, objects, whatever you want it to be. This is your creativity, as long as it's appropriate for school. You do have to think about some math in addition to your creative process, and you're going to be answering questions based on the graph, and they are related to slope and rate of change. We're also talking about functions, what's occurring on each line segment. This is where you start getting creative, and then you're going to write your story using all of your information. Now, your story that you create can be an essay style. You can type it up and send it to me as a Word document. That's completely fine. You can create a children's book, a storybook with pictures, and you can even record yourself reading it to us and show us the pictures. You can create a comic strip, a short film. The film doesn't have to use you in it. It can be animation, it can be people, puppets. You can dig out your old dollhouse. You can find your old Minecraft login and do it on there. Or if you come up with another creative idea, let me know, and then I can share it with the class too. This is all you. I'm giving you creative freedom to do this. Just know that it needs to be emailed to me or sent to me in some way, whether you copy the whole thing in OneNote or you send me a document. I need to be able to access it. So before you commit to a final project, you have to make sure that I will be able to access it to grade it. You also have a rubric here. Now, if you look over here, I broke it down into 8 days. Day 1, I want you to look at the graph, and I want you to describe what you see for each segment. What is the connection between the slope of the lines and the rate of change of the depths of the water? Answer these questions. This is day 1. This is all you're doing on the first day, answering these questions using the graph. Day 2, you're using the graph again, but this time we're talking about functions. Is this concept a function? Does this graph represent a function? This is the only question you're answering on day 2, so it should be very thorough. Day 3, now you're going to go through each individual line segment and tell me, is the water level increasing or decreasing? Is it increasing very slowly or very quickly? What could be happening in the hot tub to cause these changes? For example, line segment AB is increasing at a pretty medium rate. It's not very fast, but it's also not very slow. What could be happening in this line segment is that the water is increasing. The hot tub is filling. And that's the example I gave you up here. You're going to do that for each one, giving an example of what could possibly be happening during each line segment, where all of your brainstorming and creative ideas will come in. Days 4 to 6. This is 3 days, day 4, day 5, and day 6. This is your brainstorming time. This is your time to decide whether you're going to do a story or you're going to record, make a comic strip. Do you need to dig out all of your crayons and markers? This is where you narrow down all of the things that you wrote down on this page and you decide what you want to do or start start a lot of them, start a bunch, and see which one works the best. Day 7 and day 8, this is where you're going to decide your finalized project. You're going to finish recording, finish coloring, figure out how you're going to email it to me. This is where you're finalizing. You decided on which type of project you're going to do, and you are sticking to it. Now, turning in your project, remember, it needs to be able to be viewed by me, whether it's email or in your OneNote. So you have to figure out how you're going to get it to me. Now, I also did an example of my own that I am going to show you, and it is here in your OneNote at the bottom. This is my slope story project. So I gave myself a different graph because if I used your graph, then you would have an example right there for you. So my graph is slightly different. I am doing coffee. I'm filling my coffee cup. So the plot is that my coffee level is increasing in my cup. The cup is being filled during line segment AB, and my cup is being emptied during line segment FG. So let's go down and see my answers. Answer the following questions about slope. This would be day 1. What is the connection between the slope of the lines and the rate of change of the water depth? The steeper the slope, the quicker the water is changing. Flatter slopes show slower increase. And then I have to identify my positive slopes, where the water is increasing, which would be AB, BC, and CD. Then I would identify the slopes that are negative and the slope that is 0. DE is negative slope, it's decreasing. FG is a negative slope, it's decreasing. And then my 0 slope is EF, nothing is changing. And then I need to decide which one is the slowest rate, fastest rate, and then the slowest and fastest rate of decrease. And all of those are right there. Through these on your own too. I'm not going to answer the function question for you because it's the only question in this section, and I need you to answer that on your own. Here I listed all of my line segments, and I gave an example of what could be happening during this time. I also, before I did this, wrote on my graph, if you notice, your graph is color-coded like my graph is, so you can do something similar to this as well. I decided that AB, my coffee cup, would be filling up. Then BC, maybe I was putting something in the cup because it only increased a tiny bit, but it increased very fast. So that would be maybe where I put my spoon and sugar in. And then this one is a pretty short increase, but it was also pretty slow. So maybe that's where I pour in some creamer. Then from DE, I have to take the spoon out, so that'll be very quick. And then usually when I make coffee, I forget about my coffee, so I let it sit for a while. And then, because it's really cold, I drink it all at the same time. So I wrote all that on this and came up with some ideas. And then I listed them here as well. Then I looked through my options here and I decided that I would do a comic strip and a short film. And I have that here for you. This is my comic strip that represents my graph. And then I gave an explanation of my comic strip and my film. I don't think I can play the film while I'm recording my screen on Screencast. Oh my goodness, I can. Here we go. I won't know if the music worked on this recording until I stop the recording, so if there was no music, go back and listen to it on YouTube. My video matches my comic strip, and then I also wrote out a little explanation, which I would like you to do as well, of my comic strip and my film. So I'll read it to you. I wake up and make Cinnabon flavored coffee in my Keurig. While the water is heating, I take out the sugar and the creamer so I can immediately add them to my steaming hot coffee. Then I watch the coffee cup slowly fill up. Slowly. Wow, typo. I use a lot of sugar and I drop the spoon into the cup. This causes the level to rise, but it doesn't matter because the cup isn't full to the top. Then I start adding the creamer. It's Cinnamon Toast Crunch flavored. It was a very exciting find. Did you notice there's no more steam after I add the creamer? I added a lot and then took out the spoon. The coffee cup filled up to the top when I added the creamer and decreased very little when I took out the spoon. I took my now full cup over to the computer to answer emails. I forgot about the coffee. When I remembered, I just drank the whole thing. It was already pretty cold before I forgot about it. Moral of the story, Miss Palo doesn't actually like coffee. She likes sugar. And that's it. Remember, this project is creative. It does involve some math. And all of these questions that I broke down for you day by day, they're to help you with your creativity. It's to make it easier for you, not harder. Do the best you can and email me, ask me lots of questions. I will be here. You have 2 full weeks to work on this, 8 days, plus all the weekends and Fridays. You can do this, and I am very excited to see your Slope Story projects.